Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the EDC for Fun channel. My name is Dennis. Thanks for checking out the video. Today we are looking at the Giant Mouse Atelier. Atelier is a French word meaning workshop or studio, and this knife is the embodiment of an artisan workshop or studio. It is a beautiful piece of cutlery. I'm really thankful to get to check this out. Shout out to Lefty and the Pass Around group. This is not my knife, but I am taking care of it for a little while. I reached out to Lefty and asked if I could give this thing a little bit of TLC because when it came to me, clearly it's been used and carried, and I just want to give it a little spa treatment and touch up the edge. It's not really sharp right now. We got a little bit of junk built up in here. There is a steel liner that does have a spot of rust on it in there. You can kind of see it there. And yeah, just in general, I want to get this thing cleaned up, taken apart, show you the inside, clean all that gunk that's out of there. And I'm happy to have the chance to do that. So stick with me. We're going to check this thing out. I'm going to give you some comments. It is a beautiful knife, like I said, but it is certainly not perfect. I've got a couple gripes and we'll go through it all. Materials on this guy, we're looking at Elmax steel for the blade. Elmax is closely related to M390. This does have a little more toughness, but is just as good in the edge retention and corrosion resistance department. On the handle, we're looking at titanium that has this beautiful milling pattern on there. It is blasted, so it's not sharp on these milling lines here, so it does give you some traction, but it is a little bit slick in my opinion. We have what looks like a brass backspacer, and that is beautifully done with a little bit of jimping, and also we have a hole drilled there for a lanyard. Inside, we have a steel liner inset on one side, no liner on the other side. It's just a titanium slab there. So that steel liner is giving us our lockup at around 30%. And there is some jimping on the lock bar here. You can see it does protrude out a little bit, but the access to this liner lock is definitely not ideal. It is not the most comfortable to disengage this lock, but it is secure, and that's good. Speaking of secure, the lockup is very solid, no up and down, no side to side play. The detent is on the medium side. Definitely has good detent. I think it could be a little bit stiffer, but it's definitely good. We do have jimping on the spine as well as a crown spine, so you can see it's rounded over up through there, and then we have this beautiful swedge out here, and then a fairly robust tip for this clip point style blade. The plunge grind does come all the way back here, so not an issue for sharpening. Overall length is coming in right around 7 inches. The blade length is looking at roughly just under 3 inches. The inner grip, which is from this point to this point, is looking at around 3 3/8 inches. Really quick, we'll get a size comparison here next to a Spyderco PM2 and a Pair 3. You can see it's a little smaller than the Pair 3. Here it is next to the Urban EDC F5.5. This is another Voxnays design. You can kind of see the family resemblance with that forward jimping. Weight is 4.2 ounces. For hardware, we've got a deep carry wire pocket clip. We've got a T8 pivot screw, T6 body screws, and actually a T8 pocket clip screw. There's also some contouring on these titanium handles. A little difficult to pick up on camera, but there's definitely a swell through the middle there, and that gives you a very nice feel in hand. Very comfortable in the hammer grip, as well as with the thumb on the jimping there. It falls right in place. Also, if you wanted to use the index finger up there for utility style cuts, it is extremely comfortable. The way the handle is shaped, the butt of the handle fits right into your palm very comfortably, and with that edge being cut off there or angled, it doesn't poke into your palm when you're doing that utility style cut. This angle back here does give you a place for your pinky to rest on. It is a smaller knife. There is a larger version of this knife. It's been out for a few years. So if you're not into small knives, definitely check out the larger one. I think actually I will be doing that myself. But that little angle there does give you a place to kind of rest your pinky on. So if you have larger hands, you're probably not going to like this knife. But if you're a fan of smaller knives, this is definitely a good one for you. Now we'll go ahead and get this knife taken apart, cleaned up, and put back together. We do have tooling on both sides of the pivots. We're going to start there with our T8 bits. And we can see our maker's mark in the titanium slab here. We've got a Vox Anzo design, made in Italy. Couple things I'm noticing on this blade here. The underside of the ricasso is actually crowned, just like the spine is crowned on this side. It's rounded over. They did the same here. And also we have a ramp for the detent ball, which is pretty cool. Just makes the action a lot smoother. Okay, now we've got it all cleaned up, so we'll get it put back together. Okay, so we've got everything assembled. Our centering is dead nuts. Lockup is secure, no side to side, no up and down. And the action is very smooth. This guy's not really a free dropper. You can get it to go with a little bit of a shake. It's kind of a small blade, so it's hard to do the drop, especially with limited access to the liner and also the very high positioning of that lock bar there. So with your thumb so high, you can see there's that little bit of the ricasso there. It does hit your thumb, kind of the same way a flipper would if it was a, flipper tab knife, but that's not really a big deal. If it was a little bit lower, you could definitely clear the thumb a lot easier. But I actually really like this one-handed close on this guy. It is so smooth with that detent ramp. I actually like the feeling of just feeling that guy close. It is very, very smooth. One thing I've noticed is that when you flick it open, you get a nice solid lockup, but you got to be careful if you do a two-handed open, it doesn't engage all the way. Now, I've tapped it a few times, and it hasn't failed the spine whack, but it definitely is a much, much earlier lockup if you're just barely rolling it out like that versus when you flick it. Of course, that thing's going to slide that lock bar over a lot more. So, like I said, it's not a problem, but it's something I did notice. And yeah, this guy is smooth. I really, really do like that action. So this edge came to me pretty dull. It's not a new knife. It's been used and carried a bunch. And I did ask Lefty if I can go ahead and touch it up. I tried stropping it using a leather strop and some diamond compound, and just couldn't really bring the edge back. It's just not cleanly cutting paper, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and touch this edge up. I'm not going to reprofile it or anything like that. I'm just going to get to some new steel and then rework that apex so it's nice and hair pop and sharp, and we should be able to cut through paper pretty nicely. All right, now we got our edge brought back to life. A little sticky icky. Butter. So my final thoughts, I really like this knife. It's another beautiful Voxnace design. You guys know, if you follow the channel, I'm a big Vox fan. This one's no exception. I love the contoured titanium handles with the milling. Love the blade shape with the crown spine and the opening hole for deployment. The forward jimping with that little ramp there for you to rest your thumb on. Super comfortable, very ergonomic, great in hand. Execution and fit and finish and everything is really, really good. Gripes I had, T6 hardware sucks. I wish they had T8 all the way around. Also, the T8s they do have are kind of shallow. Not the end of the world, but it is a thing. Also, the access to the liner could be better if they had a little bit of a relief there and maybe had the liner come down, or excuse me, the lock bar come down just a little bit farther, so that way you can more easily disengage the lock. Other than that, I think this thing's fantastic. I'm absolutely willing to overlook those little nitpicks for a knife like this. I'm definitely interested in getting the larger one. Like I said, it is on the small side, excuse me, but it is definitely manageable. It's not too small. It's actually a pretty good size, and I think this is going to work well for most people. A little bit on the pricey side, but the materials bear it out. This is made in Italy, not in China, and just an excellent, excellent knife. So I'm really glad I got to check this out. Thank you guys for following along with me. Please leave me a like and a comment. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe if you're not already. Other than that, have a fantastic day. God bless you guys. See ya.